Hello internet friends, and welcome to the Legion Beta second pass look at the Feral Druid, and we finally made it. Sorry, the servers were down, I was sick, still trying to get over all best stuff actually. Kids, never go into the IRL MMO, you get debuffs there that no one can dispel. It's terrible. But here we are, talking about Feral Druid. Did about 5 hours of testing today, learned quite a bit. Overall, there are some issues that the Feral Druid community is having with some anti-synergy problems with your artifact perks, as well as some of your unlocks and some of your talents and things. But overall, if you want to check out the entire VOD for that, you can check the video description box down below. There's links to the VOD, links to all of the bugs right now. Not so many. There obviously are still some, but since we are about 2 months before the pre-patch comes out, they gotta iron those out, right? So they're not too many. I'm still working on my audio balance, as you can tell as well. I think we're at a good stage right now, but thanks to your support here, for those of you that are watching the ads on YouTube, those that are supporting me on Patreon, or subscribe to my Twitch channel, I just dumped a whole bunch of money on some computer upgrades. I haven't upgraded my rig in about 2 years, 20 months or so, 18 months, so we're going to have a lot of new stuff on the way, and I'll be able to finally solve my audio problem as I'm getting an actual mixing board. A analog little twinkly thing with, of course, digital propriety stuff, so that'll be really nice to have in the future. But the Feral Druid, onward and upward here. So we're gonna go through basic spellbook stuff, ignore things that are from a bear form perspective, that's just from your affinities, which we'll jump to the affinities after the basic spellbook here, show off some animations, jump into the overall artifact, and then jump into your talents. So Primal Fury. Whenever you critically strike with an attack that generates a combo point, you gain an additional combo point. Dots do not trigger this effect. So crit synergy. So the initial hit of Thrash, the initial hit of Swipe, the application of Rake, or the actual hit of Shred will all give you an extra combo point, if it crits, of course. This does work for Moonfire. I will note that you have Moonfire baseline as a kitty cat, but without the Lunar Inspiration talent, you actually plop out of cat form to do the thing. Alright. It's just weird that you can't cat form it without Lunar Inspiration, I guess, was brought up. So, also the there was because there is still a bug with the Feral Druid Worgen form. So that's why I was sitting, because it fixes the problem. This problem with your main. Predatory Swiftness is finishing moves have a 20% chance per combo point, so 100% chance at 5 combo points to make your next healing touch, Entangling Roots, or Rebirth instant, free, and castable in all forms. This is mostly just synergy with self-sustain, so you can actually keep healing yourself as a kitty cat, as long as you use a ability at the end there. I'm just going to grab this to finish this up, and we're going to cast a Ferocious Bite, rawr, and then you get the light up on your ability. So you can cast a Roots, you can cast Healing Touch, or Rebirth for instant and in this form. Most of the time it will be used, of course, as you are aware, for Blood Talons, as I have currently talented right now. But that's the main use, I think, of Healing Touch, mostly with that. Otherwise, just for healing yourself. Omen of Clarity is still here. Auto attacks have a chance to make you have a clear casting state, making your next one cat form ability cost no energy. The Jury is still out based on tuning, if you're going to be utilizing that for a Thrash for single target. Otherwise, it's just a free shred, basically. It helps it gives a little bit of RNG for the rotation. The Feral Druid still has a very big sort of builder phase with combo points, and then sort of a pooling phase of energy, so that you dump all your energy, and if you pool, you want to make sure you can capitalize on after you throw off some finishers. Otherwise, you dump all your energy and then use Tiger's Fury, which we'll go into a little bit here, to fill your energy bar back up, and then use your finishers for snapshotting. Snapshotting is still very much still here for the Feral Druid. It is part of your core kit and how you interact with your spells. Mostly your bleeds, of course, because your mastery is still Razor Claws, which increases the damage of your bleed form abilities, or cat form bleed abilities, by 22%. So this is the hit of Thrash, and of course the bleed of Thrash, the damage done by Rip, and the damage done on the application of and the dot of Rake. All of those are bleeds. It does also work with your unlock from your artifact, your Ashmane's Frenzy, which we'll get into in a moment. That has a physical damage component and a dot, but your mastery does affect that as well. Infected Wounds is Rake causes the slow effect, the infected wounds effect right there. It's just that you have your little bit of snare going on. Feral Instinct is reduces the chance enemies have to detect you while Prowl is active. I have no idea how much of a detection this works. It won't work on friendlies, obviously, but to my knowledge, it just reduces the distance cone, or sorry, distance circumference it is that you have to be closer to enemies for them to see you, so you can get closer before they notice you there. Feline Swiftness is there as your passive, because you are a cat druid, of course, and that will make me jump over to your affinities real quick. I have Guardian Affinity currently selected, so you can ignore the Guardian abilities, but that gives you Thick Hide. Restoration Affinity gives you Ysera's Gift and 3 heals in Rejuve, Regrowth, and Swiftmend. Balance Affinity, however, I will now talent over to, because this is probably going to be a pretty big set and forget for Feral Druids. Due to the fact that, as I sigh, if you've been watching these videos before, you kind of know that I feel it's very video gamey. Balance Affinity gives you a cooldown, a 90-second cooldown version of balance form, right? You get Moonkin form, you can do balance druid things. Currently, the numbers are broken for your Star Surge. However, you'll notice there that there's a cooldown. There's a cooldown for this form, and it's basically used as a ranged DPS cooldown. That 300k damage is incorrect on Star Surge, is broken. But it's a ranged ability and a form you can take if you are not in range of the boss, which as a kitty cat druid could come in useful, but the biggest component is that 5 extra yards on everything. Auto attacks are 5 yards further, all your AoE abilities are 5 yards further, all your finishers, everything. 5 yards on everything. And it's way too strong to ignore. And for like leveling, you might take Restoration Affinity. For rage, you might take Guardian, depending on if you need it for like crackle effects or big AoEs or dots that are terrible, just for some more DR. But otherwise, Balance Affinity, it's so good. So that's why you'll see the Astral Influence now in your bars, or in your cool tooltip there. But you can only use Star Surge, Sunfire, and Lunar Strike, as well as Solar Wrath in Moonkin form, not outside of it. Otherwise, what do we have here? We have your main builders. So as I went over before, Shred, 40 energy, awards 1 combo point, deals physical damage, additional physical damage, 20% more if the target is bleeding. And then when you are stealth, remember these effects if you are a Feral Druid. When you are stealthed, some abilities have like rolled in extra effects. So Shred is 20% increased damage on top of the bleed increase. That was a stack under certain circumstances. And double the chance to critically strike. So Shred critting procs Primal Fury gives you 2 combo points for the cost of 1 ability. You also have your building in Rake. If I can find it, of course, here. Oh, there it is. We're at 35 energy, a little bit less. And you rake the target for bleed damage, and then a larger amount over 15 seconds, and you reduce the movement speed of the target. That's the infected wounds. While stealth, of course, Rake will also be a 4-second stun and deal double the damage. But again, because you have the extra Astral Influence, you can actually rake. This is the old effect. This is called Pounce. You can do it from way over here. So you see the, that's the stun, and then that's the bleed, and the bleed is double the damage due to the fact that you were in stealth when it happened. Your other builder is Swipe, which is a frontal cone. It used to be. Swipe now is a butt swipe. It is an AoE all around the kitty cat druid. So it's just a 360 degree. It's amplified by Astral Presence from 8 yards to 13. Right? 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Yeah, there we go. Math. So that AoEs. But Thrash also is the same thing. Thrash is also a 360 degree AoE, also amplified. It's not actually build anything. It's just a little bit of upfront damage and then a bleed. But Thrash's AoE bleed effect, which is your most expensive ability, is Thrash, 50 energy. Thrash is good for putting up the bleed, then to gain the extra bonus damage, the 20% additional damage on Swipe against bleeding targets. That's their synergy there. And your only other builder, technically, again, would be Moonfire, if you take Lunar Inspiration. I'm pointing this out now and jump ahead because Moonfire is just your ranged pulling ability. But without Lunar Inspiration, you can't cast it in cat form. But if you do take Lunar Inspiration, the Moonfire becomes much stronger, loses 2 seconds on its duration for whatever reason, and does tons more damage based on your attack power. Costs 30 energy, but will give you a combo point. But I think the most... Lunar Inspiration is like good for cross-dotting or like council fights. But as we get into talents later on, you'll kind of see that Lunar Inspiration is kind of like, but we'll see. Still have Prowl, still have Rebirth. Mass Entanglement is a talent, of course. We have Root of Corruption, you have your Revive, your single target resurrection. Still have Skull Bash, which is amplified by Astral Presence to be a little bit of a longer ranged charge there. By default, though, it is, of course, your Interrupt. And what you spend your combo points on, you still have Stampeding Roar. Stampeding Roar, sadly, is weaker than Bears, but what you spend your combo points on is your main bread and butter is Rip. Rip is a large damage dot, will last for 24 seconds, that costs 30 energy, and the more combo points you have, the more damage it will do, of course. That's the graphic for it. Let me zoom in a little bit more so you can see these bleed effects here. Get that out of the way. So here is Rip, and then here's Ferocious Bite. Just showing off these animations for a little bit here. You can also spend your combo points, as you saw Ferocious Bite there. Ferocious Bite, math-wise, it is 25 energy, but it can actually eat 25 additional energy to deal double the damage based on your combo points. Overall, though, based on the tooltips values that are currently being balanced here, that a Ferocious Bite, because it is diminished by armor, will always be about 70% as strong as a full Rip. Like, Rip right here does almost 200,000 damage, and Ferocious Bite does 100,000 damage, which would be subtracted by armor. Bosses have, like, 35% armor, so it'd be 35% as powerful-ish. I mean, Rip isn't exactly 200k, but it's pretty close to it. But you keep your Rip up, and you Ferocious Bite when you have Rip up, and that's, like, the bread and butter rotation. You build, you put up Rip, you build again, you Ferocious Bite. That's kind of the A and B rotation for the Feral Druid. You still have Maim, of course, which is basically just Kidney Shot that deals a little upfront damage. Your little, like, orange little claw marks there with a short cooldown on Maim. It does some damage based on your combo points, 35 energy, 10-second cooldown, and it's your stun. You're a built-in combo point baseline stun. But that's the major buttons. You still have Dash. Dash only works if you are in cat form for the actual sprint. If you are out of cat form, it does not give you the sprint. You have to be in cat form for it. Let me just click it, because I'm a dirty clicker, because I don't have all my bindings on the server. But if you go out of cat form, you don't get the sprint. See? You have to be in cat form to get the sprint. And then your major cooldown is Berserk, but your rotational one, which I think needs more discussion here, because I'm going to show off Berserk like once or twice before we get into later on, is that Tiger's Fury, 30-second cooldown, instantly restores 60 energy, and increases the physical damage of all of your attacks by 15% for their full duration. Now, the for their full duration is because it's snapshots. Tiger's Fury, Blood Talons, I couldn't remember the name for a minute there, and Savage Roar, all still snapshot for the Feral Druid. Those three abilities can all be layered together to put into your Rips and Rakes to stack huge, ridiculous bleed damage, or I'll put them together into big Ferocious Bite burst windows. Ferocious Bite's damage apparently has always been, like, lackluster, but it's getting better, I think, in Legion, and you'll get into that with the artifact, basically. There's a lot of caked-in extra damage in the artifact for your Ferocious Bite, because your bleeds are already powerful. Like, your Mastery affects your bleeds. Versatility's always been a okay stat for Feral Druid, because it's just flat damage on your bleeds. But Tiger's Fury is, from the layman's point of view in my mind, because I don't know what I'm doing, is you would do that, is you would build to your combo points, but right as you, like, ended your combo, you would then be able to use your Tiger's Fury, and depending on crits, as you almost saw there, is that you dunk your energy to build to 5. Right before you would rip normally, you Tiger's Fury to rip and rake. Now, you never want to use rake then because if you re-rake after you use a Tiger's Fury rake or a Savage Roar Blood Talons rake, you'll pandemic it, yes, but you'll reduce the damage to the base amount. It will then refresh it to the new applied amount, which is bad. I was told that about 3 or 4 seconds remaining on the rake, you can refresh it. You only got to lose 1 tick, but you want to make sure you're always having that dot ticking because the damage overall is better than letting it fall off and then reapplying it. But Tiger's Fury is a rotational boost in your energy pooling, and also a way to snapshot some initial damage. And that's like your core mechanic here is playing around Tiger's Fury. Berserk is a little bit less to play around with. It's 3-minute cooldown where you reduce the energy cost of all your abilities by 50%. You increase your maximum energy by 50 for 15 seconds and requires cat form. And this looks pretty nice. You basically turn into Kaioken cat form with a fro right now because of my silly bugged headpiece. So you can get in there, you can put up your Tiger's Fury, get your rake on there again, spam it up there, and get all the way back and do a boom, big old ferocious bite in the same window. That's, of course, the Berserk window is going to be bursty. But right now, again, because this rake is enhanced, you do not want to refresh it. Right now, I'll refresh it. Get back out of here, Blood Talons. I'm not going to use Blood Talons properly until I'm actually testing it, of course. But, yeah, I'm not sure. There's a clear casting proc there. Maybe throw off a Thrash. Not too bad. Then we will do... See, the weird thing about what I did right there is, I think, is the biggest plague to Feral Druid players and those that are new to the spec, is that you can't really wait to use Tiger's Fury, because if you wait, you waste energy. And, obviously, wasting energy is bad, okay? But you have to, like, know when you are dumping as you build your combo points, and then immediately snap to a Tiger's Fury to fill your bar up. This gets worse with the artifact, by the way, to then put up your Rip and Rake. And then, of course, if you have enough crits, and the crits happen, and you already have a Rip and a Rake up, and your rotation gets really fast, or you're like a Berserk or something like that, then you can get a Ferocious Bite back off. But for the most part, Rip and Rake are your main sources for your snapshotting damage on Tiger's Fury. In the same way also with Blood Talons and with Savage Roar later on. But that is the core base rotation here. You still have Remove Corruption, if I didn't mention that, of course, already. But that is the baseline here. Dream Walk is your portal to the Moonglade. Gets upgraded to Dream Walking to the Emerald Dreamway, which has multiple portals to multiple places if you are a Druid. It's so cool. I played a Druid for 2 years. I portaled the other day to the Dreamway. And I was like, you get to go to all the portals that the green dragons go to. And, of course, your class hall, the Dream Grove. Oh, it's so freaking cool. It's just really pretty, and the whole Dream Grove looks amazing. Damn you, Druids. I get a weird... I mean, the Heart of the Maelstrom is pretty, but come on. But that's the core rotation. Core build, core abilities. Haven't changed too much to my knowledge. But you still have Survival Instincts. 6-second duration, 2 charges maximum, 2-minute recharge though for Feral. It's 4 minutes for Guardian. It's a 50% DR for 6 seconds. It's your only DR. You lost Barkskin, and back to depending on your SI plus your like healing touches. That's why you kind of like don't have a lot of self-healing to a degree. You do, of course, when you use finishing moves when you're questing. That's why I suggested that Resto Affinity might be really good for questing, because you do get a lot of extra healing from Ysera's Gift and having Regrowth, Rejuve, and Swiftmend to keep you up, keep you topped off. But by default, you kind of lost some sort of ability, I think, as a kitty cat, but we'll see. That'll all play out. But anyway, let's fix my my weird head here and put on Ashmane's claws, and it gets fixed. So that is all good. So the Fangs of Ashmane change your model. And we went over this before. There is a base model for all of the Druid races. Then there are 4 colorations for the base cat form model, depending on what color you socket into your artifact and you unlock them. There are 6 skins, I guess 5, the base, and 5 skins for the artifacts, 3 of which are unlockable and known, 2 are hidden, but there is the Wood Druid, which is like a treant cat form. It's awesome. That you can see all these on Wowhead or MMO Champions WoW database. You just go to the artifact calculator. You can see all the different appearances. But there's like a crazy like laser kitty. It's like all astral and stuff. It looks really cool. There's a catkin, which you are a moonkin cat hybrid. There's a feather cat where all of your fur is like feathers and it's all adorned with neat. So all the extra forms for both Guardian Feral both look phenomenal. The Bear Druid Stone form one is great. But your unlock... Well, I said there are obviously bugs currently happening in this game. And one of the biggest ones is when they changed Ashmane's Frenzy recently to not be a channeled effect, they kind of broke it. So I'm going to show it off in a broken state right now. I'm imagining it's broken, but it's not supposed to do this, I hope. But what it does is an instant cast 1.25 minute cooldown. I don't know why it's 5 seconds less than 90. But you unleash Ashmane's Frenzy, clawing your target for 15 times over 3 seconds for physical damage, upfront physical damage, and then an additional amount of bleed damage, which can snapshot, over 6 seconds, and it gives you 3 combo points. However, here's the problem. It does a ton of damage, but you can use it from like 90 yards away. As long as you can see the target, you can put Ashmane's Frenzy on it, which I believe is incorrect. You can also use it when you're out of line of sight. I hid behind the siege tank over here in the top corner, and I still could hit the target dummy. So something is definitely wrong with Ashmane's Frenzy. I'm pretty sure it's a melee ability. It would be a 10-yard ability because of the Astral Influence, but there's no yardage right now, so pretty sure it's not working as intended. I didn't get a confirmed deny from Feral Druids when I was testing, because they were like, yeah, it's fine, it's totally okay, Kappa. So I would assume it's broken, but it's a combo point generator and tons of damage, but also it is a bleed. So I asked about, like, well, how's the opener going to be now for Feral Druid? Because you're going to want to be in stealth, and you're going to want to use Rake, and you're going to want to then use your Ashmane's Frenzy, but then do you want to not Ashmane's Frenzy and actually wait until after you build, and then you want to use your Tiger's Fury, right? You want to use your TF, and then you want to put up your Rip and your Rake, and then your Ashmane's Frenzy. Then, like, you want to... There's all these things that we have to figure out, right? And there's a very strict priority list happening here for the Feral Druid. It was brought up in chat, and this is jumping ahead to everything involved here. But take example if you have Blood Talons and Savage Roar, which is now a talent, and of course you factor in TF. So, I was told the Savage Roar spec opener is going to be Healing Touch before you go into Stealth for 2 stacks of Blood Talons. You then open with Rake for 1 combo point. You then 1 point Savage Roar. Then you would instantly Tiger's Fury with the Savage Roar and the Blood Talon stack and the TF buff, and you would put up Frenzy. Ashmane's Frenzy, you're this. And then basically if you crit on the opener for Rake, you'd have 5 combo points. If not, you'd have 4. So then you would then 1 Shred to put up your Rip, or you would just Rip afterwards. So there's all these little things. So you would, you would do this. You would Healing Touch. I don't have Savage Roar currently talented right now, but you would Healing Touch, go into cat form, open with this, do this, then do this, then do this, then that, and then you're going. It's not too bad. I didn't obviously hit Savage Roar on a 1 combo point there to have the snapshot damage, but there is a pretty big back and forth with how to open. And then, of course, you do the regular rotation, and you keep up your dots, and you keep up your Ferocious Bite when Rip is up, and then refresh Rip, yada yada. But there is a lot of, because of the whole snapshotting mechanics involved with the kitty cat, I don't know. I don't play energy-based combo classes, so it took me a while to like kind of figure out, like, well, how would you want to open with Ashmane to get combo points earlier to get the Rip up faster, or would you... Like, there's all these little things to worry about, and I'm not exactly sure, and much more seasoned Feral Druids, and many of you listening right now will probably figure this all out, but that's Your opener got a little more complicated, Feral Druid, so let's move on. So there's Ashmane's Frenzy. We'll go over all the passives right now. Sharpened Claws, 15% more damage on Swipe. Yay, more AoE. Tear the Flesh, 15% more damage on Rake. Yay, more single target and kind of cross-dotting, but not really. Feral Power, 15% critical strike on Shred. Shred is your main filler. Remember, if it crits or any of the single target application spells that gain a combo point crit, you gain 2, so more crit just passively. Honed Instincts is 3 seconds more of a duration on your SI. So because again, SI is your only main source of DR, you get 9 seconds on your each charge now. You cannot put up SI as it's actually cooling down, unless you have the artifact perk unlocked, because it does have a 6-second internal window. But you don't stack them, all you do is you waste time. So I imagine that there should be a 9-second cooldown on it. It's 6 seconds by default, but the artifacts messes it up. Because you never want to, like, hit it when it's already up for 3 more seconds, because you just waste the time. So don't do that. But you can chain them back to back for 18 seconds in a row if you wanted to. Attuned to Nature is 45% more healing on Healing Touch, which is ridiculous. Ashmane's Energy is Tiger's Fury generates an additional 15 energy every 1 second for 3 seconds after being used. When I said earlier about how you have to like make sure when you're using your energy properly here, because it's so easy to cap. See how fast that was? I have Soul the Forest right now. That's why it felt faster. But the extra energy you get from Ashmane's Energy is 45 more. That means you get 105 energy. 60 initially, 45 in 3 seconds. That will cap you when you have a 100 energy baseline. So you're going to be really careful. And when you find your Tiger's Fury windows, it's super important to not waste energy. And that's a big thing that's still there for the Feral Druid. Razor's Fangs is 15% more damage on Rip. Basically 15% free mastery on Rip, right? Same thing with like that Tear the Flesh was the same thing on Rake. It's just bleed damage. Also got Feral Instinct, which is you gain 15% increased damage done when you're under the Berserk effect. This is bugged with Incarnation. It only lasts for 15 seconds, where I think it should last the full 30. Incarnation is super Berserk, basically. And then you also have 15% more critical strike damage done by a Ferocious Bite. So there's one of the hooks to try to put more weight into Ferocious Bite. So Ferocious Bite crits will be stronger and feel a little more worthwhile, again, being told that Feral Druids are like, Ferocious Bite, you know. You always want to put bleeds up, So putting bleeds up, Scent of Blood is that each target hit by Thrash reduces the cost of swipe by 2 energy for the next 4 seconds. This stacks, as far as I know, forever. So when you thrash something, you gain this little buff up in the corner here, the Scent of Blood, and this basically get 2 swipes that are a little cheaper. I'm not sure how often you would actually continuously use that, to be honest with you. I think it works with a sense that it will help you start AoEing. But you're not really going to rotate Thrash because it costs so much energy. It's 50 energy. And the damage that Thrash does, wherever the heck it is, Thrash's damage is very weak, and the bleed is actually really poor as well. The most thing is it enables your swipe to have the bleed effect on multiple targets so that you gain more damage on swipe. This brings me to a side topic right now while I bring up the Feral Druids for the longest time are very good at single target and tunneling, which is, I think, what their strength is. So there are some talents and some perks here you're going to see that, like, kind of help your AoE and try to, like, fix some problems. But for the most part, I don't think that Feral Druids are going to be more than just single target, and you're going to have, like, most of the same build and spec for your talents, like, the whole expansion, outside of, like, 1 or 2 things moving around, because you're just very good at single target. You ignore armor with your bleeds, you're very good at just combo point tunneling, and your AoE is there to be supplementary, but I think it's not going to be super big unless you need to in your group setting, in your guild, or your 5-mans, or whatever have you. We also have Hardened Roots, talking about bleed so much, as your bleed damage will no longer cancel Entangling Roots early, which is kind of strange. I don't know how good this will be except for, like, trolling in PvP or control possibly in a dungeon, but it's good, but you're not like, oh my goodness, you know, my pants just got knocked right off. It's cool. It's a bleed safety net to not break your entangling roots if you're going to use your predatory swiftness to instantly root something. You also have 15% more damage on Shred. This is your first unlock you get when you go forward here. And then you have Protection of Ashmane, which is out of cat form. You gain 100% increased dodge chance and armor for 5 seconds, or until you shapeshift back into cat form. It can only occur once every 30 seconds. You'll see it right here. So people were like, why do you need armor if you have 100% dodge? So you can't dodge from behind. Also, there are dots and bleeds that do physical damage that will be reduced by your armor. Additionally, special attacks that like overpower, for example, goes through dodging. So armor will reduce that kind of damage. It's a really cool shape-shifting ability. It was suggested that you could power shift into bear form to like taunt something off somebody and hopefully not get globaled if you needed to. But you only have a 5-second window on Protection of Ashmane, so it's not like crazy good, but it's helpful. Definitely helpful. It's a neat just perk for the Feral Druid to have that. Going back to like leveling, with that perk unlocked relatively early if you are going the path that I think most Feral Druids will go, is that you're going to be going for the end talent on the very, very far end over here. That's probably your best end dragon perk, which is far away on purpose. But you'll have this pretty early, I think, and for questing, you could, like, shift out of cat form, get the 100% dodge up when, like, things may be beating on you if you're, like, in a bad situation, and then you can, you know, regrowth, rejuvenation, swift mend yourself, and then you're good to go. If you have Resto Affinity, of course. But that is all of your regular unlocks. Now your golden dragons. You saw it on the debuffs you saw here. Open Wounds is the Fangs of Ashmane tear deep into your target, causing your attacks to ignore 15% of the target's armor, while Rip is active, right here. So if a boss has like 35, like cats in the ground, if you have 35% armor on a boss, this means that you're ignoring 15% of it. So the boss only reduces the damage done by your physical abilities, not your bleeds, by 20-ish%. So it makes your Ferocious Bite stronger, makes your initial hits of like Shred, and for single target wise, it's not going to really affect Swipe and Thrash, but it will affect the damage done by your Ashmane dot, for example, your little purple cat swipes here. That does initial physical damage, right? So that'll do more damage. So it's really good. Just helps your outside damage, mostly buffs Ferocious Bite. And then you have Shadow Thrash, which you saw earlier. This has a 1-minute ICD. Dang it. The auto attack range is 15 yards, or 10 yards, plus the melee hitbox here. It's so weird. I'm going to auto attack from so far away. But Shadow Thrash is a chance to... casting Thrash is a chance to release part of Ashmane's soul, causing all nearby enemies to take a lot of shadow damage over 2 seconds. As a 1-minute ICD, I'm pretty sure. I spammed this thing forever, and roughly every minute on the next Thrash, it happened. So it helps with Burst. It also might mean, again, the Omen of Clarity and using Thrash in your single target rotation could be really beneficial, because that damage is not bad. I mean, based on current numbers tuning, it's 140,000 damage on a button press. I mean, Thrash does nothing. Like 15k up front with 52k bleed. But if you couple that with all of a sudden 100... Was it 140? Yeah, 144 extra shadow damage? You could make a strong case for Omen of Claritying Thrash in a single target rotation. But obviously, it'll help with some burst AoE, which has been a problem for Feral Druids. Their AoE's been poor. But it's kind of both. I think it's a neat talent. I don't think it's high priority. Probably be your second, if not last, golden dragon you want to look forward to as a Feral Druid. Because again, single target damage is your strong suit. And why even more so is that is because of Ashmane's Bite, which I'll try to show off, but it probably won't happen, very often. Is that Ferocious Bite has a chance to awaken the spirit of Ashmane, which inflicts a shadow duplicate of your rip on the target. Double rip. Many of you Feral Druids right now just went Craigasm, or Final Gasm if you're subscribed. It works too. But this is crazy. So what happens here is that it will snapshot all of the damage of that current rip. I'm just trying to get a Ferocious Bite to proc it right now, which it never wants to. It's I think the ICD is like 30 seconds. And there it goes right there. So the bleed, I have currently selected Sabertooth, which we'll go into later, but the bleed is the exact same damage. So if you Tiger's Fury, Savage Roar, and Blood Talons up that rip, that big juicy rip, and then you Ferocious Bite into it, as you normally would, Ashbane's Rip duplicates it at the current duration on that rip. See, it's counting out the exact same time here, see? It duplicates it right then and there, and just doubles it up and makes it a Shadow Dot. Because it is a Shadow Dot, however, though, which I think is very much happening here, is because it's a Spell Dot. It's affected by your haste. That's why I have 1 extra tick of the ability down here. Actually, it's almost 2, I think. It is 2. That's the first one I've actually... No, it ticked right here, and then it ticked here. So I think you 1 more. I have 10% haste right now. And how haste works is that at the end of a full duration of a dot, your residual haste will give you like a partial tick or a full completed extra one. So I figure this out for me, and you can comment in the section down below if this is true or not. But I'm pretty sure this is a spell effect, because dots for any caster, like Moonfire or Sunfire, whatever, Affliction dots, Corruption, yada yada, they all interact with haste. That in the 30-second window, for example, if you have 0 haste, you get so many ticks. But if you have more haste, you get more ticks of those dots, up to even partials in that same window. My tongue got tied there in my teeth. But bleeds don't have any haste interaction. Bleeds just tick the whole time because they deal damage purely, they ignore armor, so there's been no haste synergy with bleeds, which has been a contentious point for kitty cat druids for a long time. But Ashbane's Bite is shadow damage, it's a spell, and I'm pretty sure if it, tick, 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 back and forth, ticks here, rip dissipates, Ashbane's rip ticks right here, and then 1 more. So I'm pretty sure you're getting haste benefit on that, at least for like maybe 1 to a partial extra tick on that, which is just so much more damage. It's so much more damage. I skipped over this earlier, which some Feral Druids might have been like, oh my god, what did he do? He skipped something. I mean, that happens sometimes, right? So Ferocious Bite has a little bit extra tooltip involved. When used on targets below 25% health, Ferocious Bite will also refresh the duration of your rip on the target. I couldn't test this empirically. What I was told, and what I imagine, is because it's called Ashbane's Rip, not yours. The 25% Ferocious Bite refresh does not work for the Ashbane Rip. What it does mean is that under 25% health, when you are Ferocious Biting, you will refresh the duration, and if Ashbane's Bite does proc, it'll be a full duration 24-second shadow damage rip. I had a talent selected right now called Sabertooth, which Ferocious Bite will extend the duration of your rip by 2 seconds per combo point spent, so 10 seconds. It extends it. So it'll actually add, I mean, you can, if you rip back to forth, you will go to 30 seconds on rip because of the pandemic effect. But Sabertooth will add 10 seconds, and then what you saw right there when I tested it, which is great that it did in the video, woo, is that you saw the full duration dot of Ashbane's Rip mirror the extended duration of your own. But I'm pretty sure the Ferocious Bite refresh at execute range does not work on the Shadow Damage Dawn, because it only refreshes your rip, not your Ashbane's Rip. But I could be wrong. It could totally work, and it's amazing. But again, that just puts more power into Ferocious Bite, and which has been a thing with Feral Druids for a long time. Like, Ferocious Bite's been a snorefest, so that's huge. This is huge. That's huge. So there are some good artifact perks for the Feral Druid, for sure. So now, talent-wise, as a blanket, 30s, 45s have already been done, and 60s, you can see them. They haven't changed. Displacer Beast, Wild Charge, Renewal, Mighty Bash, and Mass Entanglement, and Typhoon. I tried, like, putting a bunch of dots up, like rakes, and Mass Entanglement is still entangling your roots. It doesn't break, just like from your Hardened Roots passive here. It does work with your entangling roots, but like, in what situation other than like Thrash, and then like you can entangling root stuff, like does that work? You can. Like, you can do this, and then you can entangling roots, and this will spread. And, like, it won't break. Oh, I auto-attacked it because the freaking Astral Presence! Oh my god, so video gamey. Anyway. But I'm not going to go over them. You know what they do, and they've been here, and they're all the same for all the Druid specs, so let's get into the more nitty-gritty ones. I've had Blood Scent talented this whole time. I already went over Lunar Inspiration earlier as well. But Blood Scent is probably your best bet for a set and forget because you're a Feral Druid, and you're good at single target damage. Your melee abilities in cat form have a 10% increased critical strike chance on target with a bleed effect. So that will give you 10% more crit on Shred, 10% more crit on Rake's initial hit, 10% more crit on all your swipes, which I'll go over this now. Swipe is an AoE. If any of the hits of Swipe crit, you will gain 2 combo points, which is now not working, of course. There it goes. So only 1 target hit by Swipe needs to be crit for you to gain 2 combo points from that. And Blood Scent only helps that, because you can Thrash to AoE, everything has a bleed on it, so Swipe has 10% more critical strike chance. Mostly it's just insane with Shred. Like, Shred gets the most benefit of all this stuff because it has more crit based on Ashmane from... where was it? It was somewhere in here. Where was that critical strike chance? Right there. Feral Power. So it has the base amount, double amount if you're in Stealth or Incarnation, and then 15% from here, and then 10% more from Blood Scent. Your other option on this tier is an AoE talent, very much an AoE talent, in Predator. Hi, Fire Mage friend. So Predator is that the cooldown of Tiger's Fury resets when a target dies with one of your bleed effects active. So, can't really test this on target dummies, but if you're thrashing things for AoE, and you're using Tiger's Fury to give you more energy for swipes and 15% more damage on all of your little AoE, and then the target dies, it refreshes the duration. So you just get Tiger's Fury again, and then you keep AoEing. There is some synergy with, like, using this on a single target boss fight and having more Tiger's Furies if you're able to kill, like, say the Scorpion adds. You can kill the Scorpions, and it'll keep refreshing your Tiger's Fury, which sounds insane because you keep getting the 50% more damage done, you keep getting the snap energy and the energy regeneration. There also even is a legendary in Legion that gives you more energy on your Tiger's Fury, like 40 more. Feral Druids, calm down with the energy, alright? But that's a big thing too, because you've been kind of a slow class for a long time. So Predator, lots of AoE, cleave, synergy. Blood Scent, probably your set and forget for a single target. Lunar Inspiration, I have no idea. No idea. So I said I had Soul of the Forest talented right now. It's your finishing moves grant you 6 energy per combo point. So that means a full finisher would give you 30 energy, as it would. Which it shows up in the combat log as well. You'll see the refresh right there. Soul of the Forest, 30 energy. Right there. Pretty good. Ferocious Bite, minus 25, and then you get back 30 for it, so it technically is a net gain of 5. But that is how you can keep the rotation going smoother. It's kind of the set and forget passive. It's in the same tier as Savage Roar and Incarnation King of the Jungle, so it might not see much use. It has some bonuses for different styles of play, but we'll see. Incarnation is just super cat form. I will show this off right now before I go into Savage Roar talk because it'll take 3 minutes to discuss that. But Incarnation is super Berserk. So, Berserk is 15 seconds. Incarnation is 30. The artifact buff that gives you 15% damage during Berserk is supposed to be lasting 30 seconds, I assume. But right now it's bugged. You'll see that in the tooltip up there. But it's an empowered cat form that allows you to use Prowl while in combat, if you want to, but causes Shred and Rake to deal damage as if you were in stealth. So Rake has the stun, and Rake has double damage. Shred will do 20% more damage and have double the critical strike chance. then they all also cost 50% less energy, and you still get 50 max energy. Sadly, you remember the kitty cat Kaioken? The Goku cat from earlier? Yeah, this is Incarnation. It's kind of lame, in my personal opinion. But sadly, that's what it looks like. I don't know why it looks like that, to be honest with you. I don't know. But I think it should be a little bit better in the future. I hope, for kitty cat's sake. But it's not really a really fun animation. But it lasts for forever. It's a huge burst cooldown. Huge burst cooldown. And as many fights work out in Mythic progression, or even Heroic progression, burst and on-demand control of damage is always more beneficial than, like, passive damage. Which brings me to Savage Roar. This is a contentious point for Feral Druids, I was told. Is that Savage Roar being made a talent that now competes with Incarnation is a problem. I kind of don't agree from, like, an outside-looking-in perspective. So Incarnation is on-demand super cat form. Crazy burst damage on fights where damage needs to be done on the pull, or in phases like the Heart of Il'gynoth, burst phases like on Scorpiron, whatever have you. Whereas Savage Roar, I kind of feel now is like a AoE talent. Because you can keep the 30% attack increased damage up for a long period of time, and it works just fine with, like, having extra AoE bonuses. Of course, it is there very much for the snapshotting. You can stack Savage Roar, Blood Talons, and Tiger's Fury all on top of each other for individual multiplicative stacking for your Rip and your Rake. And then, of course, you can keep that Rip up under 25% health. Or if you take Sabertooth, you can keep Rip up forever with Ferocious Biting. So it's a possibility. The build you're looking at right here, as all Feral Druids know what Blood Talons does, with the Healing Touch, gives you 2 applications of Blood Talons, 30% increased damage for the full duration of the next 2 abilities. By default, if you're doing it properly, you always Rip and Rake with those Blood Talons stacks. I guess you would technically Rake and then Rip, because you would hit your Healing Touch, and then Rake, and then Rip. That Rip would use a Blood Talon stack, but as a finisher, and then you would get the Predatory Swiftness buff back up, and then you would gain 2 stacks again of the, you get the Predatory Swiftness buff back up again, so you can rotate back through. If you did the other way around, I guess you'd waste a charge, or the potential for the charge if you didn't do it that way. I think? I have no idea. Damn you, cat form. There's a long testing session today, so I could mix my words here, but you know how Blood Talons works. But I think, overall, rotational-wise, you're going to be spec'd this, Blood Scent, Incarnation, Sabertooth, Blood Talons, or that with Savage Roar. If you like having a super crazy cat form, or you like having the rotational nonsense of Savage Roar, that's up to you. I don't like the Savage Roar mechanic myself. I think once a class gets too much, like, stackable nonsense for, like, power gain, you get to this weird power creep phase where unless you do all of this stuff, your class just falls behind in performance, and then you, like, become useless for, like, a progression race standpoint in top-end guilds, and you stop seeing the top guilds use these classes, and you're like, well, why is no one using a Feral Druid? And it's because there's too much power creep. And it has to be done so well to gain so little damage bonus compared to other classes like a warrior that just rolls face. So, but, yeah, my Blood Talons example was wrong. You would put up the buff, you would Rip Rake, and then you would get the Predatory Swiftness buff back again to then rotate back to the other way. Yeah, I mixed my words there. But Savage Roar, if you want to play it, if it works out, I was told based on current iterations with how much damage you gain from Ferocious Bite and how strong Incarnation is with the extra Berserk damage bonus as well, that they're kind of close together. And when I was doing and looking through the dungeon journal for all the different bosses and going like, well, you know, where would Savage Roar fit or where would Incarnation fit? I kind of felt like Incarnation just fit better on certain encounters, and Savage Roar fit okay on less. But I could be totally wrong there, but it's just, you know, my look at how everything looked during the testing process. But we'll see. You have, I'm going to go back over to Soul of the Forest real quick here. You have a ability called Jagged Wounds, or a talent, I should say. That is your Rip, Rake, and Thrash abilities do the same amount of damage as normal, but 33% less time, 33% faster. So instead of your Rake, for example, lasting for, I believe it was 15 seconds, it lasts for 12 seconds now. Your Rip, which normally would take 24 seconds, lasts 16 seconds. And your Thrash damage, which lasts for cat form, 15 seconds, also goes to 12. 10. 10? 10? 33% of 15, I guess, is 5. Okay. Math is hard at like 5 in the morning when I'm recording this video after I've been testing for 5 hours, but okay. Yeah, that's right. Okay. But Jagged Wounds, I think, works really well with... It gives you a little bit of AoE synergy. It makes your Thrash tick a little faster, because it's kind of crap damage as well. If you, like, tab Rake, it helps a little bit there. But I think the most interesting component of this is to go Soul of the Forest, Jagged Wounds, and Moment of Clarity. This is a very passive, very single-target focused, no, like, weird shenanigans. It's like a no shenanigans build. Where Moment of Clarity is Omen that uses 3 cat form abilities instead of 1, and 30 more energy, not percent. But so Jagged Wounds basically means that you can never, without Moment of Clarity, you can't, it's very hard to miss. You never really get to Ferocious Bite, which is a problem that Feral Druids have had, is that Jagged Wounds is anti-synergy with, like, Powerful Bites and Ashmane's Bite, and because you're not biting very often, you're not using your big Ferocious Bite finisher, you're not gaining a lot of benefit from open wounds. So Jagged Wounds doesn't really work that well in another build, I think. But we tested this build right now. I'm just going to roll through it real quick here. And you'll notice that after it gets rolling, I think there is a pretty cool potential for this build to be a possibility. I messed that up. But you actually get to use Ferocious Bite in this build because you get so many Omen of Clarity procs. You actually get to use that. I'm going to use my Ashmane on the next rotation here. Right there. There we go. See? So you actually get Ashmane's Rip to pop up here now and then because you get... And the Ashmane's Rip actually is purple when you have not Moment of Clarity, but Jagged Wounds, kind of like it knows that it's faster. It was a red dot earlier. But I don't know. I think this build, because... I'm not doing it completely properly right now. I'm just kind of slamming buttons down. But it could be a thing if you just want all the passives. You just want to, that you parry me. It could be a possibility. You just get so many clear casting hits that you just don't use your energy very often. It could be good. I have no idea. You get to use Thrash more often because you get to use so many Omen of Clarity procs. And because you get energy back when you use finishers, and you use the finishers more often because you get to build so much faster, and your Rip and your Rake and your Thrash just all tick faster, they do damage quicker. So it's a very quick build, and I think it could see something. I don't know. But again, you only have regular Berserk and Tiger's Fury as your cooldowns. Of course, you have Ashmane's Frenzy. But if you don't want to play around with any of the nonsense, and you like the fluid feel, and you're not in a guild that needs to, like, super min-maxing, you just, like, want to play Cat Druid, this could be a build for you. You just kind of, again, you just put up Rip, you build, Rip, build, bite, build, Rip, build, bite, back and forth, back and forth. You get to rotate through Thrashes, so that could be good. Elsewhile on this tier, other than Jagged Wounds and Sabretooth, which I like Sabretooth myself, but Elun's Guidance is 45-second cooldown that you snap 5 combo points, and then 1 additional every 1 second for 5 seconds. A lot of the talk was this is a PvP talent for on-demand burst, to be able to build up and put like a Rip on someone, and then Guidance, and then Rip, and then build back up to a, like, put Rip on 2 different people, right, to spread some damage around there. Or to build up to like a Rip on someone, and then Guidance, and then maim the healer. So you can immediately have the combo points available for you, which it could be a thing. But, I don't know. It's just kind of like, derp. I mean, you're like, yeah! But if you wait too long, you're wasting the combo points because it ticks every second. So I wasted one there because I didn't immediately spend the. I think it's weird that it takes no time for the additional one every one to start. So it's off the global cooldown, so you can just hit it with an ability, but it's a little strange. The other ability here to wrap up here is your other ability that helps your AoE a little bit. This is Brutal Slash. It's basically super swipe. So swipe did no damage, like 50,000-ish damage, so a little bit more than that with the 20% more from bleed. But Brutal Slash is as it is. It is a new graphic. It's just 2 swipes back and forth. It's almost 3 times the damage. So it's 137,000 physical damage, gives you 1 combo point, and you can have 3 charges. So you can sort of have this like burst window with Brutal Slash. And again, with Predator, you can make sure you have the energy to rotate through those 3 Brutal Slashes immediately. Yes, it does mean that after you use the Brutal Slashes, they're on cooldown for a while because it's a haste-based recharge system. 18 seconds, I want to say it is. It gives you the potential, though, because mostly cleave damage and, like, sustained AoE is not in World of Warcraft. Very, very, very few fights have sustained AoE. Everything's about burst. Kill it now. Oh my god, imp spawn. Kill the imps right now. You know, so there is possibility there. However, I think we'll see a lot of druids spec like this or like this for a lot of the expansion due to the fact that you're really good at single target in damage. But this could be a good cruise control build here too. I don't know. Again, you have your AoE build here, which is like probably like that, I guess. But we'll have to see. Let me know in the comments below what you think of the new Feral Druid in Legion. If you made it all the way through the video, leave your best cat joke in the comments below about cats or kitties or whatever, Feral Druid in World of Warcraft or otherwise not. Leave me your best cat jokes or puns in the comments. Oh no, I said puns, it's over. My comment section is dead. But thank you all so much for watching. Again, the video description box below, that guy keeps jumping in my screen. Video description box below has the link to the VOD, link to the notes, link to other ways to support the show here and what I do on FinalBossTV. To your support, I'm able to upgrade my system and solve my audio conundrum and bring you guys a better stream in the future. Thank y'all so much for being here. Subscribe if you want to see more of these in the future. Oh boy, kitty cat druids meow meow. Kitty cat is for fight. I'll see you all in the next Legion video.